My name is Gabriela Giroletti. I'm a Brazilian artist living and working in London. My studio is located in southeast London by the River Thames. I also live nearby, so my daily commute is just a simple bike ride or a walk along the river. I really started noticing the life of the river, the movement of the water, the tides, all the marks the birds leave in the mud. When I really need to think about either what to do next or how to start something altogether, I usually walk instead of cycling. Walking helps me clear my head and start noticing all the colors around me. In terms of the forms and colors I use in my work, they usually come from nature, and I usually draw something out when I see it. But what I will do is I will redraw that shape over and over again until the form has a more ambiguous feel and it can suggest different things at the same time. I lately have been thinking a lot about movement and repetition, seasons, and translucency. I'm also interested on a more conceptual level in tensions and binaries and where things meet. Breezy brings together works that I made during 2021, so all very intimate work, because I was on my own in the studio with very few visits. The paintings, well, majority of them were made during summer, and I wanted a title that could represent that pleasant feeling we have when we're outdoors in nature. I've been thinking a lot about movement and in-between states, and I suppose a breeze is a state in between wind and stillness. I think of my work as this big entity, each work continuing the conversation that the previous started. And I don't want to have a very straightforward, literal reading of my work, because I do like that people can read my work using their own lived experience. I feel like it's important that I give something for people, but not the answer, and that they can finish the work that I started using their own histories, their own backgrounds, and give the work meaning. I think that's very beautiful and profound. And when I was still at art school and trying to, load each painting with information, I had this great advice from a tutor. She said, well, you don't have to put all you know in one work. Simplify things and try to think of the bigger picture, the message that the works bring when they are put together. I have been following this advice ever since, because I really think about how they're gonna stand as a group rather than individually, how they're gonna build a story or a narrative or just a visual experience together. And I think with the drawings, every stage of the process is a translation of the previous stage. So I have lots of drawings and ideas and references, and that goes onto the canvas, and then there's more process involved. So it's a translation of a translation of a translation, which hopefully will be translated again by the viewer. When people tell me I want to touch your work, that means that my surface is doing its job of attracting people in, and then you have to get closer in order to understand what's happening in the surface, but also you have to step back in order to get the bigger picture. I want to have a very physical and tactile surface, so I try to use materials that perhaps are not traditional to painting, and I will make my own tools as well as making my own paint and materials, etc. I paint in this scale to have a more immersive experience, not only for myself, but also to the viewer. An experience that you can use your whole body. The gestures are big, the surface is big. It functions like a portal, and since the work is about experience, visual experience turning into perhaps an emotional one, I think my work hovers also on the tensions between being a painting and being an object. The difference between my large-scale works and my very small works are that I have a plan and I have a general idea, at least, as to what's happening in the large works. And my approach to the small works is very intuitive and very process-based. And I'll just start by laying color and trying to find form within the application of the material. And it's much more intimate work. And it's a work that I only use my hand, whereas with the large work, I use my whole body, and it's a more bodily experience. So they inhabit the same world, but they're distant relatives, I suppose. They feed into each other, but they have very different process of making. The activity of painting is one of using both your whole body and your mind at the same time. So it can be a very special and profound experience, and I think it's very much connected to nature. There is a sort of wholeness in the activity of painting that I could never achieve doing anything else. The more I paint and the more I know about painting and the more I know about its limitations, the more I want to push forward and try different things, because the more I paint, I understand that the possibilities are endless and there is so much that can be done with the rectangle itself. I want to continue exploring this idea and what it means and where it can go.